So this guy, called Amir, presumably, released a video entitled Why I Left the Left. And our friend, Hunter Avallone, released a video critiquing it, which is interesting because Hunter had his own arc of why he left the right. So it would be interesting to hear his perspective. To be honest though, I'm kinda sick of these videos. Why I left the left, why I left the right. It's kinda cringe in my opinion. Someone leaves their side of the political divide and we all jerk off and cite it as evidence that the other side is wrong. Or when someone leaves your side of the spectrum, like in Hunter Avallone's case, you have to run defense and point out why that person's actually an idiot and they should have never left.
5 reasons why I left the left and woke ideology. Let us know all the different reasons why he left the left. And I have a theory. My guess is that it's going to be for a bunch of really dumb, ignorant reasons. And he's just not going to even know.
This is when politics gets very divisive. Either you agree with me or you're a complete idiot. There's nowhere in between. It's not possible you've just had a change of opinion. You would think Hunter Avallone, of all people, should understand because he himself had this same change of heart, moving from the right to the left.
Man, I used to believe that I would get shot and killed by the police just for being black until I realized that more people get struck by lightning than black unarmed men get shot by the police. I also
Okay, yeah, there's a huge difference between somebody being victimized by a random weather event and somebody's likelihood of being victimized by the state.
Yeah, Hunter, that's what he's saying. He's saying natural disasters are the exact same as, police shootings. I'm guessing Hunter is being intentionally stupid for his audience, but to point out the obvious, his point is that it's extremely rare. But you wouldn't think that if you subscribe to the narrative that's spun by the left and the left-wing media. And this is reflected in this survey that asked how many unarmed black men were killed by police in 2019. The answer was about 11. And if you look at this graph, you can see the more liberal you are, the more likely you are to be incorrect in your answer. So clearly the narrative pushed by groups like BLM is skewing people's perception of reality. So this ex-liberal finally woke up and realized that the narrative he's being fed isn't accurate.
Even if somebody is more likely to get struck by lightning, there's nothing we can really do about that. But if it's true that black people are more likely to be victimized by police brutality, there is something we can do about that. So you're just like comparing something that we can't have no control over to something that we have complete control over.
Oh my god, Hunter is just too good. He's wrong on both counts. We don't have complete control over what individuals choose to do. You can try to educate or put in other preventative measures, but at the end of the day, murderers are going to murder and racists are going to be racist. And there's nothing we can do about people getting struck by lightning? Can we not educate people? Try to predict the weather? No? Lightning rods? Do they not exist? You know when there's thunder and you just stay inside? No, not an option anymore, I guess.
fear of being black to the next level. For so long, I felt that because I was black, I had to just go along with the narrative. I have to be a Democrat. I have to stand with BLM. But that couldn't be further from...
Okay, so again, maybe you're a dumb sheep who just goes along with the crowd, but like, that's not what everybody does.
Even though you did it too, Hunter, you literally did the same thing from right to left. That's the only difference.
Why should what I do in private automatically define my worldview, politics, habits, and culture? How come if one is gay, they're automatically lumped into this LGBTQ community, but if someone's straight, they're just straight? Like, why can't gay people have that? There is no straight community.
The LGBT community is an umbrella term that refers to a category of people.
Transitioning on the little kids. They're promoting...
They're pushing the transitioning on the little kids. No, they're not.
Nuh-uh. No evidence needed. Hunter's just saying it's not happening, so it's not happening. I've talked about this already, so I don't want to get too much into it here. Even socially transitioning kids in early childhood is likely to persist their feelings of gender dysphoria. And we're doing that to children as young as 3 and 4.
So we've seen very, very young people, who have fully socially transitioned, age 3 or 4.
and you look at the data of 80% of trans people turning out to be gay. Clinicians in the UK were caught saying that they were transing the gay away. A clinician resigned because of institutional homophobia. And these clinicians that were transitioning children had a dark joke that there would be no gay people left at the transgender clinic the way it was going. But despite all that evidence, it's not true, because Hunter just said, nuh-uh.
You don't think it's okay for men and women to share the same locker room? You're transphobic now. You don't think it's okay for men and women to compete in sports?
Maybe it's actually that you're acting transphobic by refusing to give any nuance to these very nuanced issues. Like, it's going to depend on the sport. There are some sports in which cis men or cis women and trans women can compete, and it's a fair, meaningful competition. There are some sports where it's not always the case. Maybe if you accepted, or maybe if you addressed this topic with a little more nuance, it wouldn't be as easy to just call you transphobic.
Okay, what sports are you referring to, Hunter? Are we talking about fucking curling or something here? Okay, Hunter, the trans people can play curling. Will that make you happy? Okay, now that curling's out of the way, so what are we left with? It's just, boxing, MMA, tennis, badminton, weightlifting, American football, hockey, rugby, basketball, baseball, swimming, volleyball, rowing, kickboxing, cycling, wrestling, gymnastics, soccer, and pretty much everything, maybe even including curling. But, everything else is okay.
The border wall? Oh no, what?
The board. We all have locks and doors to protect our own homes. There's a lot of us.
You can't compare individually owned property to a fucking nation.
It's a metaphor, Hunter. He's using a metaphor.
A lot of the times, Republicans will say there's a border crisis, and their data for this is that there's an uptick in border encounters. When in reality, encounters just means that Biden's Border Patrol team encounters an immigrant, says, nope, you're not allowed to come in here, sends them back. The same immigrant comes back. Now that's counted as 2 encounters. A lot of the times, the very data Republicans try and use to say there's a big immigrant crisis is actually data showing that Biden's immigrant team is stopping illegal immigration.
Wow, this is exactly the kind of gaslighting this guy was referring to. You spin a narrative that's clearly not true, and everybody knows it, and then it turns people off your ideology. This might look like more immigrants, but no, it's actually because Biden's just doing a really good job. Even in this Bloomberg article, where they try to deal with this very problem, their estimated number of successful unlawful entries still shoots up to 4 times as much under Biden than Trump.
Like, we could just as easily, like you said, Democrats say America sucks, but then you want immigrants coming here, huh? That's weird. We could do the flip side. You say America's great. Why don't you want people to come here? You say America's so awesome and wonderful. Why don't you want people to be able to immigrate here and enjoy the benefits of this wonderful, amazing country?
Well, that's an easy one that I can answer. To quote Ryan Avent, the progress of a few fortunate decades can too easily be swept away by a few years of trouble. What we have in the West, more broadly speaking, is very precious. I don't know how applicable it is to the United States, but in Europe, immigration is destroying our cities. Terrorist attacks and crime are increasing with the mass immigration that's been instituted by our politicians against the will of the citizens. And this leads to social unrest and division. Take this example of Germany.
The data also suggests that the number of violent crimes committed by foreigners rose by roughly 15% in 2023. And those that are German passport are now responsible for nearly 60% of all violent crime.
The same can be said with racial minority groups. Having diversity and representation and prioritizing this, it's more than just make sure we have a black guy in here. It's that right now black people are disproportionately depicted in media as thugs and villains and criminals. And so positive black representation goes a long way. It has the ability to further improve things.
Because everybody loves having black samurai and black Cleopatra forced upon us. As long as it's improving things, whatever that means.
They've done these studies where they have identical resumes. The only difference is one name sounds black and one name is like Jake Smith or something. White people, the white sounding name, is more likely to get a call back. So even when he talks about representation and how you want the best doctor, you care about quality, That's true, but sometimes the best quality is literally neglected because the best quality is attached to a diverse sounding name.
Ah, yes. Fight discrimination with more discrimination. I usually regret when I trust left-wingers and take their word at face value, but assuming those studies are true, why don't we implement an actual solution that isn't discriminatory? Why don't we try and make the hiring process as anonymous as possible? If someone's hiring me based on my resume, why do they even need to know my name? If you're hiring me for a job, why does it matter if my name is Frank or John? And this is especially true for race. It's completely irrelevant, yet it's always asked when you go to apply for a job. Whoever's making the final hiring decision should have as much information as possible filtered out.
Because of her resume, or did she get the job because she's a woman and we need a woman on the board? Did this black actor get this role?
What? So because some people are racist and are going to assume that this black person only got the job because they're black, or because some people are sexist and assume this woman only got the job because she's a woman, we need to stop prioritizing representation because people are racist?
No. If you're dishing out advantages to certain races or sexes, we're not racist or sexist for wondering if they would have gotten the job had they not had those advantages. That's why you shouldn't be advocating for discrimination, Hunter.
Because he's a good actor, or they needed to diversify the crew and they needed a black man on set.
This is just a lie. This is bullshit. This is nonsense that we have people that are not qualified that are just being picked solely for the ethnicity.
Yeah, that would never happen. More gaslighting. We've seen a million examples of this and we all know it's happening. In most cases, I wouldn't say that they're hiring unqualified people, but less qualified. Like the example this guy used. If someone is performing heart surgery on me, I don't want the second best guy, I want the best guy available.